Joining us live is the Deputy Opposition Leader Sussan Ley. Sussan, thanks for your time. As always, we'll start with the energy crisis. It's there front and centre again this morning. The government needs to come up with something and fast. How should it intervene?
Well, it's ridiculous, Pete, that having brought down a federal budget which was supposed to give us the plan and demonstrate the priorities of this government, they're now looking around, chasing their tail and working out what to do. So this is an appalling impact for Australian family businesses and households to consider that power bills are going to go up by 30–50% and that there's no relief in sight. This was a government who promised to leave no one behind. This budget is leaving millions and millions of Australians behind.
So what's the answer, in your view?
Well, we aren't the government. We handed the government a strong economy. In fact, Jim Chalmers said when we handed down our budget, what we need is a plan to tackle the sting of inflation. And where's his plan? What's he doing? Where is the reassurance that Australians need that things will start to get better? And they will only feel that if they know this government has a plan. Now, in terms of what to do, Pete, there are many things. We made affordable power prices a priority when we were in government. We understood that that's the perspective that you have to have when you look at this issue, so that we don't find that people can't afford to turn on the coolers, turn on the heaters, or run their manufacturing equipment in their businesses. Now, that's not the approach this government has had. They've talked a big game on renewables, but they haven't realised the cost. They haven't realised, for example, that more supply into the market makes sense. They haven't got a plan.
Would you support price caps on bills?
Well, this is a matter for the government. What we support is bringing down the cost pressures and the cost price squeeze on Australian families.
But price caps might do that.
And it's up to the government. Well, price caps might. Injecting more supply into the market might. Having a better relationship with gas suppliers might. There are a whole range of things. There are a whole range of levers that the government has access to and has had, by the way, for over 5 months since coming into government, where they knew this situation was facing them. It was facing them in the first few days that they took office. I can't believe that we're still talking about it now. And when they came into office, no one imagined that prices might go up 30–50%. So they've been sitting on their hands all this time, and Australian families are the losers. And this budget does nothing to relieve that cost price squeeze.
So what about limits on exports?
$2,000 before. Well, that's a matter, as I said, Pete, for the government to decide. There are a whole range of factors. There are a whole range of issues. And the pressures of increasing budget costs are hitting Australian families. And if you come into government and you say, you look the Australian people in the eye and you say, we're not leaving any of you behind, and then you bring down a budget 5 months later that acknowledges that the costs will increase for the average family by at least $2,000 before Christmas, and that your prices, your power prices are going to go up by an amount that you never dreamed possible, surely you need to take some action. And you know, yesterday we had Jim Chalmers apologising to a journalist for apparently mishearing a question at the press club about the $275 decrease in your power bills. This was the promise. This was a promise that they haven't actually walked away from. How about the apology? Never mind the apology to the journalist. How about an apology to the Australian people for actually getting it so wrong and now for having no plan to deal with it?
But didn't you have data showing that prices for energy were going to go up, but it was kept hidden until after the election?
Look, that's just a Labor smokescreen for a no plan by them. That's just looking in the rearview mirror, which is all they seem to be able to do at this moment. You know, the energy landscape is dynamic and changing. It responds to world events. It responds to national events. And you've got a government where the energy minister is at war with the resources minister. They can't even agree. So how can we possibly have a cohesive plan coming out of their cabinet that addresses these cost pressures?
Just a final one here, Sussan, on flood victims. They'll be hit with a sneaky tax, according to you, for $50,000 and $75,000 grants. There's been a response from the Treasurer's office which says that's just normal budget procedure. Is that right?
No, it's not. Now, we made these grants non-assessable, non-exempt income in the Tax Act. They should have done that. Can you imagine the pressure on a family that's receiving, or a small business that's receiving thousands of dollars to rebuild their business after floods? They're pouring their heart and soul into it, and at the end of the year, they will actually get a tax bill. Now, Pete, we always say that when the government runs out of money, it comes after yours, but I never expected them to come after the hard-earned money of flood victims via this sneaky tax grab through the back door.